So, council, the property in question or under consideration here, it's up on the projector. It's this parcel here. This is in the Salt Lake area of town. It's off of Cottrell Street. Currently, there is nothing on it. It's a vacant piece of property. But in order for the applicant to place a home on this lot, they need an area variance for the rear side setbacks. Here's their survey right here. So I believe this was subdivided a little bit smaller than it should have been, which is why they're asking for the setback and what they're looking to do. Got it right here. The area requirements require a 2,400 square foot minimum. What the applicant is currently occupying is 2,800 square feet, so it meets the lot area requirement. The ground floor area residence, a minimum of 500 square feet is required. They're proposing just over 1,000 square feet, so they meet that requirement. What they do not meet is the interior setback requirement, which specifies not less than 10 feet from the property line, and they're going to need 7 feet, so 3 foot difference. On the street side, which would be this side right here, not less than 15 feet is required, and they're requesting 10 feet, so a difference of 5. And on the rear side, which would be here, not less than 15 is required, but they're requesting 6, so a 9 foot difference. So nowhere on the property will they be on the edge of the property line. There will still be at minimum 6 foot clearance from any point if the variance is approved. Now it is I believe a double wide, and the door will be on the side, but we've required that they build a landing on the door that faces the street. So it effectively acts as a front entryway, which would be facing Cottrell Street, and that's where the addressing would be. So with that said, are there any questions, concerns, anybody that would like to speak as part of the hearing for record?
Front door on the alley side.
I believe. Which side will the front door be on?
That's towards the alley.
Yeah, the front's gonna be on the right side. The door, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be on this side.
Right side. But I can put a door in the front.
If it's in a control address,
Sorry. Oh yeah, it would. Right. So the
So Cottrell Street, let me give you a little pointer here. So this is Cottrell Street. So it's gonna be on the right side. So this is actually an alley. Right here. And if you go back to the CAD map, see the alley here? So Cottrell Street. So the front door of your house is going to be on the alley side?
Yes.
Yes. And then
That's
they'll
what
go,
it is now, yeah.
they'll build a landing off of that, the steps facing the front of the street to kind of give it the front facing,
You know what that means?
street facing, entry. This is 70 feet long, 40 feet wide, so you have a drawing of their house, don't you?
yeah, I've just got to load it real quick.
Electrical line or anything, utility.
One running overhead right here.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on where the electric hookup is for it. But it won't run over the top of the house, that's for sure. These guys back here, they'll, fix that. Yeah, but
It's loading, but I don't have it right now. I'll pop it up here.
is
in
there
a second.
anybody has any comments on this so far? Questions?
So from a compassion perspective, of course, you want to grant it thinking that they've already purchased their home and it's only a few feet. But the question is what happens to future variances? If this one sets the precedence, what happens in the future?
Well, since this lot was technically subdivided quite some time ago.
It's kind of a weird one-off.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like say if somebody bought this piece of property here,
It's not gonna be an
nowadays,
issue.
they're gonna have to fit minimum lot requirement sizes rather than they will allow for the proper size of the house, fitting on the lot with the setback. You know what I'm saying? So if this was subdivided, it would have to be bigger lots. Whereas this is a pretty small lot.
You still have that 7,500 square feet.
You still have the lot area requirement and the minimum dwelling square footage requirement. It's just on the setbacks that they need.
So the zones actually changed right here.
Mhm.
So this is Elm Street, so everything up here has to be basically it's not the manufactured home zone. This
So-
alley right here
It's an R2.
is, anything this side is the manufactured home zone. And that doesn't mean there's not manufactured homes on this side, but
Mhm.
that was pre-me, and I'm not gonna make somebody move their house out of town just because it doesn't fit the ordinance.
Right. And so then additionally, there's not really anything else that could go on that lot, so that's the best and
Yeah.
the most effective use of the land.
Yes, it is.
And since it is a manufactured home zone, at some point that could be moved from the property and put with a single family home down the road. And
So there is support, we did get a letter of support from the resident who owns, this property here. We did get a letter of support for, supporting this variance.
That's good.
It is. We haven't heard from anybody else around the block. Everybody did get their letters. The letters went out, plenty of time.
Mhm.
We've been talking about this one for a while, and this is the variance hearing, so.
Right.
Any other questions? You still don't have a picture of the house yet?
no, I don't have it. I have it on paper, just not uploaded.
That's fine. So, any other questions, council? Comment? Anything you guys want to say?
Anything on this one?
Did we miss anything?
That's it. And the resident is here in the audience if you had any questions for him. For them. Mhm.
You need that person.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Any, we just need to make a,
It would be a motion to approve order 2023-04. I'm trying to write that down. 2023-0424-01.
any other comments? If not, we'll need a motion on the table or no motion.
We have one
I'll make a
gentleman.
motion that we,
I'm asking a question.
Let's ask the question real fast.
Did we have a problem with the other gentleman? He had to follow that setback to build a home, and we told him he had to build some square footage. Remember?
Was that on Kimball? Right on the corner where the
Yeah.
street was running through it? Yeah.
I'm for this, it's just that I
Mhm.
don't want things to be thrown back at us.
He was granted a variance. So
He was. His was approved.
That's all.
There's a lot of discussion on it.
Yeah, I mean, motion.
Yeah, go ahead and carry on with your,
motion to grant the variance for the special exception from Williams County for the property ID R08056.
thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones has a motion on the table. Jesse Luna has seconded that motion. That's to approve, variance 2023-0424-01. All in favor? Variance clears for the. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I've got it. I just got to print it for you.
All right. Good, Mr. Joseph will get, the signed documents to you guys real soon. I guess, do you want them to come back to the city?
Rose will reach out to you, and she'll get you guys squared away.
Okay? Thank you all, appreciate y'all. You have a good evening. All right, moving on to regular agenda items, review, discuss, and consider action. Item number 2, discuss, review, and take any necessary action related to support for the Bartlett Historic Foundation application for museum on Main Street application. So I think Ms. Jennifer is going to give a little speech on that real fast.
I'm gonna turn the lights off for you.
Did you guys?
What's that?
Sounds like you went to the restroom.
We'll give him a minute or just carry on?
You can carry on if you so choose, or you can give them a minute. It's up to you.
Okay.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you
You
want.
might
The
need to
floor
hear
is
it,
yours.
so I won't sing and dance, we'll just wait. No hurry, no hurry.
I don't know why we can't go to the bathroom before meeting starts.
You know, it sometimes just happens. Did everybody get a sandwich?
There's sandwiches in the back room back there if anybody wants a little sandwich from the local Red and White.
You need a little snack, you need a little drink. It's not gonna be that long. Not on my account anyway. I can't speak for the rest of them. I can only speak for myself tonight. I am sometimes long-winded, but I have been known to fill City Hall. Time or two. The chief, I'm not fussing at you tonight. Everybody needs a sandwich.
Got a union break going on here?
Storm's rolling, we don't need it.
I guess, go ahead and carry on. There he is, there he is. Yeah, sorry.
You needed a bottle of water.
Just disappeared on us.
Okay.
All right, carry on, Ms. Jennifer. Sorry about that.
It's okay. So the Bartlett Historic Foundation is committed to telling the story of Bartlett and restoring the history and the historic buildings here. And through that effort, we've gotten quite a bit of attention. And one of those pieces of attention, as it were, is the Texas Historic Commission and the Williamson Museum. And through a recent partnership with the Smithsonian, we have been invited to apply for the museum on Main Street. And so in order to do that, I needed to explain to you just what that was. And so Museums on Main Street has actually been around through the Smithsonian. And when I say Smithsonian, I mean the real Smithsonian. It's been around since the 90s. And what it is the Smithsonian feels like a lot of times it's off limits, especially that in some cases underserved and rural communities. If you think about it, a lot of our kids haven't necessarily been to Washington to see the Smithsonian. And so the Smithsonian puts on exhibits that travel. And so since the 90s, they have traveled to each of the different states, and they do an exhibit that's called Crossroads. And this year, right now they're working on the exhibit that will be traveling to Texas. And so there'll be 6 communities that are chosen, and in partnership with local museums and historic foundations, which we happen to have a 503C foundation, they will bring, after application and successful bid, an actual version of the Smithsonian, which they will partner with our community to build that out and have it run in our community for 6 to 10 weeks. And so if our bid is successful, what that means to us is a lot. And so they would partner with our schools, our kids would have the opportunity to have hands-on learning experiences. museum quality exhibits come to town, the tourism that would be behind that would be phenomenal. The Smithsonian does a substantial amount of advertising, and they also help to coordinate lots of what they call heritage events. And so some of those would be in partnership with, for example, David Valdez has already volunteered to bring photography exhibits to town. There are artists who are interested in backing this. Both of the museums are already kind of geared up and excited about some of the events and the live hands-on, like bringing history to life type events that they would bring throughout that 6 to 10 weeks that would all be right here in Bartlett. They are asking us to partner together with the city, with our library, with our schools, to make this come to life. And so with that, I want to be able to answer questions. That's kind of just a high-level overview. Okay, here's just some pictures of it. So the exhibit is called Crossroads. And so, yep, so Crossroads Museum on Main, here's an example of one that's been built in another city. It does travel from city to city and state to state. And so what it does is the Smithsonian puts together a piece of it, and then our city puts together the rest of it. So of course, nobody here would be asked to put together everything. Our partnership is with both the Williamson Museum and the Bell County Museum, which for us is actually unique because we have 2 museums who stand behind us. A lot of these cities go in and they only have 1 local museum. And so for us, we have 2 museums standing behind us, and both of them are very excited about it coming to Bartlett. They really do feel like, if you think about too, the theme of it being Crossroads, what better city for it to land in than the city that's at the crossroads of 2 counties? And if you think about this story, what they've asked us to do is to put together the story of the crossroads. And if you think about Bartlett's story and the crossroads that we're at right now, and this revitalization that Bartlett is going through, and its history coming back to life. The crossroads of the change that's happening. Think about our visitor here today with the fiber and the way that technology is changing, the crossroads that we stand at. Our schools, we can think about the crossroads of our schools from the point that we were at. Teddy tells the story so much better, but the point of failure that we were at and the crossroads that we've come to the point of success. And so those are the stories that we would tell in our version of the exhibit. So the Smithsonian brings in its piece when it talks about the crossroads of America, and we tie that together with the crossroads of Bartlett. And it actually is a really beautiful, I've looked at some of the exhibits that they've done in some of the other cities that they've gone to, and it's really neat because it actually does give smaller cities a voice in America, as opposed to it just being, people come to America, to visit or to travel, and they go to New York or to Chicago. And it's not all about just those great big cities. It's also about all the great wonderful things that happen in these small cities and small towns. And when you think about it too, they aren't even looking at cities. For example, Round Rock's not on the map. They're not. This would not even be something that they would consider because, for lack of any other way of putting it, Round Rock's kind of already made, right? And so we're still at the crossroads. We're still going through that revitalization. So our city is one that they actually have kind of picked out and they've got their thumb on, and they really want us to be successful. So what questions or thoughts might you have?
So if selected, what time frame would we be looking like? This is their 2023 calendar, I'm assuming. So we would be on their 2024.
2024 calendar, exactly. And we do have the opportunity to select dates that we prefer and dates that we absolutely can't have. We have the opportunity to tell them if we'd like to revive a heritage event. So for example, I'm just saying it loud, if we wanted to revive Friendship Fest and we wanted to do that in September over this, then they would back the revival of that festival, and we could say we want it to be in this time frame so that our festival's at the same time as our Smithsonian exhibit. I'm just using that as an example, because it's all about heritage.
Mm-hmm.
So so we have the opportunity to influence the dates. If our heritage event and somebody else's heritage event were at the same time, they just draw straws, is kind of what it comes down to. So all of the event cities that are chosen kind of end up working through the dates. So that is part of that process. But we will have those 6 to 10 weeks. They do back up, and there's a shipping timeframe that is involved in the exhibits coming and going. Funding's gonna be your next question.
One of them.
Yep, so the Smithsonian backs it. It's also privately funded. The Bartlett Historic Foundation will also fundraise for it. We have already got our letters all together, and there are some donors that are interested in backing it. And then, of course, one of the things that I think is really phenomenal about what will happen with this is that this will also be a huge boom to the foundation. And then all the fundraising that's done because of the attention that comes from this, then the foundation can turn around and do great things in turn for the city, because that's what the mission of the Bartlett Historic Foundation is. So then any fundraising that's done behind that can go to future projects, which will be named. So for example, restoration of other named buildings in town, the library, the art building across the street, I don't know, whatever we want to call it or do for it, City Hall, whatever, so there'll be projects that get named and that will be added to that. So it'll be through foundation funding.
Location.
Location, there's 2 potential locations. The Tribune Building is the prime location at the moment. The other potential building might be the library, although I think it's too small, too much, not enough parking, not enough traffic. But those are 2 potential spots for it.
When you say Tribune Building, you're talking about both buildings or just one on this side?
It'll encompass both.
Anything else?
Let's see. And it mentions here the non-monetary support in kind, and that could just be like you have annotated there, volunteer hours, city promotion,
City promotion, volunteer hours, exactly.
city facilities like library, city hall if it's in nicer shape.
Yeah, if this were in nicer shape and we could share parking, those kinds of things.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea is that if the city sign, and in your packet, there's a letter that says that you support this. It would be I think it'll be a stronger letter. It'll be better for everybody if this is both a public and private effort, and if everybody's shaking hands and going forward with it. But ultimately, I'm not asking for money from the city. Our foundation's not asking for money from the city. And ultimately, I think the city's going to make a ton of money from it and ultimately get donations and more back from it than we're asking for. But what we do need is, and what we'll benefit from, is the ability to have city publicity from it and shared, like I say, parking resources and volunteer hours and things like that from it. It's going to take all of us to get this done if we get it.
Can you share who the Bartlett Historic Foundation? Can you share who that is?
Yes, that's the foundation that I founded, and then that in turn has backed, for example, the movie posters and the monument at the library and some of the other donations that have already surfaced in town.
And maybe I missed it, but when was the determination made for being selected? Did they give
It'll be
time frame?
done, the final application has to be issued in May, and the final selections will be made shortly thereafter.
So you have to have a date at that time?
We do not have to have a date at that time. And then there's a great deal of training that comes behind that that's supported from the Smithsonian. So they'll actually be in our city, they'll be in our